welcoming everybody here. Fox Sports Radio, AM 1280. This is Cody Grant here, and I have the pleasure to be joined by the one and only Mike Holmgren. Mike, how's it going today?
Hello.
Welcome into the show. Welcome to Fox Sports Radio, AM 1280. Thank you so much for taking time on your day and coming on and talking a little bit about some football and where you're going to be coming up in the near future at the Fanatics Authentic Card Show. It's going to be over 300 vendor tables, plenty of athletes going on right at the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center on 5555 North River Road in Rosemont, Illinois, this coming weekend, November 20th through the 22nd. Looking forward to seeing you there, Mike.
Yeah, very, very much. I mean, you know what? We have ties to Chicago, as you probably know. My kids, 3 of my 4 girls went to college right in Chicago at North Park University, and we still have some apartments there and a lot of good friends there, and so I'm looking forward to coming back. It's going to be fun. Yeah,
and you definitely spent a lot of time in Chicago, about 2 times a year between the years of 92 and 98 when you were coaching the Green Bay Packers. And there's going to be a lot of athletes here, just featuring some of the guys, Albert Pujols, Javier Baez, obviously very popular now with the Cubs' success, Andre Dawson, Tim Brown, Jerry Rice, Bo Jackson, Marcus Allen, Mike Singletary, Jim McMahon, Sterling Sharp, Matt Carpenter, and Mike Holmgren. So a very stacked card. For more information, call 866-586-4915. Again, listen to Fox Sports Radio AM 1280, talking with Mike Holmgren. Mike, you have a very long career when it comes to football, you began coaching at Lincoln High School back in 1971. You were the offensive coordinator there, and you just seemed like forever you were coaching football.
Yeah, you know what? I was one of the lucky ones, Cody, because I was able to do something that I loved, and even though a lot of people call it work, and we worked very, very hard. Don't get me wrong, but it was a joy. And like I said, I was one of the lucky ones. And when I started in high school coaching, that's where I thought I was going to be my entire life. I really loved that level of coaching. I love the kids and helping them, hopefully making a difference in their lives just a little bit on and off the field. But then one thing led to another, and I was at San Francisco State, then BYU, and pretty soon with the 49ers, and then all of a sudden, what happened. And so I never planned it that way, but it was a great run.
Going back before you started your coaching career, you were a player at that time. You went to USC. You were a quarterback there. Before that, in high school, you were a tight end. Before you became into a quarterback, did you ever? You said it wasn't planned, but did you ever have aspirations of coaching football, even while you were a player?
It probably was in the back of my mind. The guys I admired most as a kid growing up, other than my own parents, were my coaches. They paid a lot of attention to you. They were confidants to you. They were hard on you. I really liked them. And, in fact, my old high school coaches, after my pro thing had ended, encouraged me to come back and help out at Lincoln High School. And it also encouraged me to get my teaching credential and all the things necessary to teach in high school. So I owed them a great debt of gratitude, and those are the guys I looked up to. So I probably had it in the back of my mind.
Gotcha. You spent 9 years coaching high school football from Lincoln High School, then Sacred Heart High School, and then on to Oak Grove High School. And then you got your first gig as the offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach from the San Francisco State University. How did that conversation go when you found out that they were going to offer you a job?
Well, Coach Vic Rowan, who was legendary in small college circles, he was the president of the National Coaches Association, actually. My brother had played at San Francisco State, and so I knew Coach Rowan very, very well, having grown up in the city. And, he got a hold of me when he needed a coach and said, would you like to come up and try this? And so I took a leave of absence from my high school coaching job in San Jose, and with every intention of taking the year off, going to San Francisco State, helping out Coach Rowan, and then going back to my high school job. But I coached there one season, and then Coach Rowan's good friend was Lavelle Edwards at BYU, and Lavelle phoned him and said, hey, listen, my quarterback coach just left. Do you know of anybody? And he said, I got a guy right here. And I told Coach Edwards, Coach Rowan, I said, I don't want to go. I'm just going to stay in the Bay Area. He goes, no, you go for the interview. And so I never expected to get the job, but I got it. So then I was on a kind of a path that I wasn't going to go back to high school coaching necessarily, and then that's what happened.
Yeah, and we talked about a little bit off the air. I mentioned, we being here in the Chicago area, everybody knows about Jim McMahon's career at BYU. Did you ever? You did not coach Jim McMahon, obviously. He was a rookie that year, but when you took the job at Brigham Young University, you were there for 3 years, and it really catapulted you because the job after that was your first NFL job with the San Francisco 49ers. You were the quarterbacks coach, and you were able to coach Joe Montana.
Yeah, in fact, and then going prior to that, though, with Jim McMahon, he had been a high school player in the league that when I was at Oak Grove. He had been a high school player in that league. So I knew Jim. And then when I got to BYU, he had just graduated. And so he wished me well when I got there. And then, of course, I had Steve Young at BYU was my quarterback. And I was there 4 years. And then the 49ers needed a quarterback coach, and I was from the Bay Area, and Coach Edwards recommended me to Coach Walsh. And, again, I didn't think I'd get the job because I didn't have a lot of experience. I was only 4 years removed from high school coaching. But I got the job. I mean, funny things happen.
Yeah, you mentioned it wasn't planned at all. I'm talking to Mike Holmgren here. He's going to be at the Fanatics Authentic Card Show. You can go see him on November 20th through the 22nd. Featuring over 90 athletes in person. Listen to WBIG AM 1280 Fox Sports Radio. Mike, that's really, really interesting. You mentioned you were able to coach against Jim McMahon when you were at Oak Grove High School, and you obviously coached Steve Young at Brigham Young. Then you went to San Francisco, where was able to coach Joe Montana, and you ended up reuniting with Steve Young later in your coaching career at San Francisco.
Yeah, in fact, I remember the day when Coach Walsh, Bill Walsh, came into my office and said, if you remember, Steve had gone to the USFL with the LA Express, and so then he came back when that league folded and went to Tampa, and Coach Walsh said, what do you think about Steve coming to the 49ers? And I said, well, he's really a great player, but we had a great player, maybe the best ever in Joe Montana. So, but he made the trade, and Steve came, and you look at franchises today that can somehow figure out who the next quarterback's going to be, even when the current quarterback is really great. Those are the guys that have longevity. It's happened with Green Bay, and it's happening with Indianapolis. And we had them both there at the same time. Tough job for a quarterback coach. I was in pretty good shape.
Yeah, you had arguably one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time when you were a quarterbacks coach, and then you still had him when you were offensive coordinator for the San Francisco 49ers, and he won his 2 MVP awards under your direction in 1989 and 1990.
Well, you know what, Joe, was his year in 1989. We won the Super Bowl and beat Denver, and he had a wonderful – they were great players. Listen, I'm under no illusions there. I believe I helped the situation. I really do. But these guys were great players, and it was a privilege to work with them. And then, of course, I went to Green Bay, and I had a youngster named Brett Favre there. That's how I lost all my hair, Cody.
How's that? When you made the trade for
Brett was a kind of a wild stallion, and he was kind of always in the principal's office, and I just talked to him the other day, as a matter of fact, and we laugh about it now, but I was hard on him. I mean, I saw a remarkable talent in him, but we're both stubborn, and I wanted him to do it my way, and he was used to doing it a certain way. So you have those little meetings of the minds when you're coaching and playing.
Yeah, and he started his career in Atlanta. I mean, obviously you know that, and he came over to Green Bay. And it's funny, we all know how Brett Favre was on the field. I mean, he was, he was a warrior. He not missing games, and even when he was hurt, a lot of guys in today's game in all professional sports, you kind of hear that whether they go down with kind of a minor injury. That guys back in the, Brett Favre obviously in the 90s and into the thousands, and then back even before that was like, man, why aren't you playing? And Brett Favre definitely was a type of player that he was going to go out there no matter what.
Well, it's of all the things he accomplished playing football, and he played a long time and threw for a lot of yards, touchdowns, and so on and so forth. The thing I think is most remarkable is his streak of consecutive games. I mean, you think about it and compare it to teams that you love to watch now and players you love now. Rarely can they kind of even get through a season without getting nicked up and missing some time. And but to do it for 17 years or however long he did it without missing a game, it's remarkable.
Yeah, it's definitely an unbelievable feat and something you don't see in pro sports, as you mentioned, Mike. In today's culture, you don't really see that much. Guys are missing games left and right, it seems like, and so it's very impressive that Brett was able to play 17 years and not miss a single game. It was unbelievable. Obviously, he missed some games at the end of his career in Minnesota, but he had a great career under you. And one thing about that, Mike, when you came in as the head coach of Green Bay, and the guy that hired you, I want to talk to you in a little bit about him is Ron Wolf. You were going up against Bill Parcells for that job.
Yeah, and Ron and I, we talk about it. I just talked to him the other day, too, because he went in the Hall of Fame, and they were honoring him this last Sunday in Green Bay. But, yeah, he and Bill had been longtime friends, and Bill was his first choice. And when I interviewed with Ron told me all about the whole story. And Bill at that time was undergoing some heart procedures, excuse me, and just didn't think he could do it. Didn't want to do it. And so Ron said okay. And so fortunately it worked out for me, and I couldn't have asked for a better boss, coming into the league as a head coach for the first time.
Yes, and first time as a head coach, you never had a losing season in your tenure with the Green Bay Packers, and it counted for one Super Bowl. And great, unbelievable job coaching. Now to go to Ron Wolf, because he did get inducted to the Hall of Fame, and he was brought in to the to Lambeau Field on Sunday as he was revealed in the Packers Ring of Honor. Larry McCarron and Mark Murphy spoke of Wolf from the general manager spot, and they mentioned that the hiring of Mike Holmgren and the trade for Brett Favre and the free agent signing of Reggie White was Wolf's top front office moves. Would you agree with that?
Well, I know Reggie. Well, I'm not sure if hiring me was the brightest thing he ever did, but with Reggie and Brett, certainly. A couple of reasons. Brett obviously became one of the greatest quarterbacks ever to play the game, and so that's very obvious and clear. And then when we signed Reggie in free agency, it was the first year of free agency, and no one thought at the time that little Green Bay could compete in the free agent market, particularly with African-American athletes, to get to Green Bay, because there's not a large community up there of African-American people. And so, would it be attractive to an athlete? And then we got Reggie up there, and Reggie was like a goodwill ambassador. I mean, he helped us recruit other players, and now, it's not even thought about. It's not even thought about. It's a great place to go play, and they can compete in free agency. And you got to give credit to Ron's signing of Reggie White for that.
Yes, Green Bay has definitely been an excellent organization in the NFL for the past 2 decades or so, and they obviously a lot had to do with Brett Favre and now Aaron Rodgers, quarterback. And now, Mike, after your tenure with the Green Bay Packers, you moved away from the Packers and you ended up coaching the Seattle Seahawks, which was for sure a much different team for you as the Packers. When you got going with them, you never had the losing season. They were a perennial playoff team. You went to 2 Super Bowls with them, winning the one. So you come into Seattle, now you have a much different quarterback in Matt Hasselbeck. Still, I think you would agree with, I don't know, I wasn't in there, but he was pretty fiery too, kind of like the Brett Favre type. And you were able to lead that team to the Super Bowl in 2005.
Yeah, that was a great accomplishment by those players. We had a rebuilding situation to do in Seattle as well. And once we traded for Matt, he was at Green Bay at the time, and we drafted him when I was in Green Bay. But we traded for him, and then he and Trent Dilfer kind of shared the job for a year or two, and then Matt got the job. And look at Matt now. He's played 17, 18 years. And now with Andrew Luck being hurt, Matt's going to have to carry the load for the Indianapolis Colts in their hopes to get to the playoffs. But, yeah, it was, what, Cody, it's if you can find the guy who can be your quarterback, if you can find that person, then you can build around him. You look at the teams that struggle now and can't quite get over the hump. It's because they haven't found the quarterback. It's the toughest position to play in the league. and those are the